All right, and we are back. 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 Welcome. All right, and we are back. And today we're back with another reaction video. More specifically, we're back with more Biblaridion, ladies and gentlemen. Yay, yay, I know people have been waiting for this one. I've read the comments. I do apologize again. I just live a busy life, but at the same time, I'm here for you guys, and that's why I'm back with episode, what are we at? 13 now of Biblaridion. Oh my gosh, we are on our way, all the way, almost off the journey, but we, again, if you haven't seen it recently on the live stream, we have started another series, but, you know, we're back with Biblaridion. We want to make sure to get this one finished out because we've been getting some really great episodes. And recently, I have been seeing in the comments that this one is going to be a really good one. This is the Biotic Interchange. No, Biotic Interchange? That's probably better. That feels more like what it actually says there that I'm reading. So yeah, Biotic Interchange. Now, guys, I don't know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. Those two words, I feel like I've heard those two words separately. I haven't heard them together, so I imagine this is going to be a good one here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe. I know you've been waiting for this for a while, so we're going to get right into it. Also, want to thank everyone who's been subscribing to the channel and viewing the live streams. I do enjoy doing the live streams, so if you guys are around or free whenever you see the pop-up notification, join in, ask some questions, recommend a video, put out words that you don't think I can spell or pronounce after you put them in there. All the fun stuff, we have a good time on the live streams. So ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Biblaridion. It is highly important that we subscribe to the creator. He makes really great content. We've all been enjoying the series. So if you have, for some reason, just been watching my content, but you haven't subscribed to him, make sure you go subscribe. Link will be in the description below. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and get right into this because guess what? I already spent a bunch of time watching a different video, and then I was like, wait, I actually saw this one. So I just rewatched another Biblaridion video. So we're going to get into the right one that we're supposed to be reacting to. Again, sorry, I feel like I've been off my game this week. It's the whole time change thing. It really messes me up every time. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into this. I don't have anything else to say. Except the one thing I do have to say is, guys, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe. We're on our way to 2K subscribers, so hopefully we get there by the end of the year. So yeah, like, you comment, you subscribe to the channel. If you don't, unfortunately, YouTube will come through that door right over there, and they will. Alien Biospheres, episode 13.
This is brought to you by Campfire.
Campfire!
Campfire is an online writing and world-building application designed to help you plan out and organize.
Again, Biblaridion, I may have asked this before, but hit me up with your Campfire guy. We'll do an ad together, bro. We'll do a me and you 1-2 double team. I throw up the oop, you dunk it type of ad. People don't even do that on YouTube. We're gonna be revolutionary within the YouTube game. Me and you, buddy. Hit me up. Campfire, hit me up. I'll do the ads for you. But Biblaridion does a great job. But guys, watch this. Watch me doing that right quick. Campfire, are you a writer? Let's say, are you a writer, by the way? Of course, you're a writer. You wrote tons of books, but now you'll be able to write books with a lot more of the background where you get to pre-fill it out, have everything in one spot, where you'll get all the systems, the characters, the languages, the timelines, the freaking the maps, how everything looks in the world. You can have that all put together in one area, timelines, arcs, locations, all the different things you'll be able to put in one, have sectioned off in one area. So when you're writing your book, that novel that's going to go triple, quadruple platinum, you're going to be the best book writer out there. Now you'll have all the things to go back and reference, be like, oh yeah, yeah. And then say you want to add some new stuff, then you come back, easy, add new, boom. Now you got new stuff to add. Now you can look through the characters, their history, all the stuff. Oh wow, you're a D&D player. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Actually, of course I knew that because I know my audience. So guys, let's say you're trying to set up your D&D, and next thing you know, you want to put all the characters, all the maps, all the languages, all the timelines, all the things you're going to be doing for the adventure all in one place, and you guys get to come back and reference this throughout your entire journey. Ladies and gentlemen, this is incredible. Literally incredible. You'll never see deals like this because Campfire Blaze will do that. Plus, they'll also have different actions or different things where you can actually learn. They have a learn tab, an explore tab, so you can learn about how to get these things accomplished. Let's say you want to learn how to write a novel. You don't know how to write one yet. Boom. First thing you do, buy pen and paper. Actually, no, don't do that. You probably need to buy a laptop, but okay. First thing you do, read a book. There you go. You'll go ahead and learn how to, once you read a book, you can start writing books. That's step one. Step two, then you go buy a laptop. Exactly. You buy a laptop and then you start writing. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is going on for a while. I know some people have already clicked off the video, but I find it very entertaining. Biblaridion, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pass the oop to you. Once again, you see how we're doing this dual ad thing already. We're already pre-synchronized. So when we get that together, we're already super synced. Boom. So now I'm going to let you finish the ad. I'll hop in when necessary.
All the details of your projects in one place.
Boom.
Campfire Write includes 17 different modules.
17 different modules to help you guys out.
Each handle different aspects of your project.
Including
characters, locations, species, languages, magic systems, and more.
And you know what? It's super collaborative. It's secure. It's private. It's a Triforce.
All of these modules have a free version.
Look at this.
But for the ones
free
that you specifically need for your project, you can get the full version for as low as 25 cents a month.
25 cents a month. You guys honestly can't afford not to do that. It's going to be cheaper than a bag of chips. Let's say you want to get 12 bags of chips. You could have got this. It would have saved you. It would have been double as much, twice the cost of doing this.
Or if you prefer, you can unlock everything with a one-time purchase. You can choose to keep your work private or to collaborate with other users and share your project on the Explore page to start.
Look at this, communities. You got people within who are using this, actually showing you their work, and they're like, guys, how do you feel about this? Like social. It's a social media. Explore other people who are also doing this.
Building an audience of your own. And on the Learn page, you can find tutorials and guidance on all sorts of world building and storytelling topics. Plus, there's a mobile app in development.
They got mobile apps.
Will be ready for release in the next.
Come on, mobile app companies, hit me up. I know you guys want to add.
Few weeks. To sign up for Campfire or to learn more, check out the link in the description.
Guys, make sure you go to the link in the description. It's got some great information in it.
Over the past few episodes, the allopatric separation of the eastern and western continents has resulted in both developing their own distinct biota, or unique collection of native species.
Biota, okay.
But after they reach their maximum degree of separation, the continents will begin slowly drifting back towards each other until they finally rejoin, setting the stage for ecological chaos. Biotic interchange occurs when two or more biotas that had previously been allopatrically separated come into contact with each other, such that species from either biota migrate into each other's habitat.
You know what? For some reason, this was not what I expected the biotic interchange to be. But you know what? Shout out. This is actually good information here. Biotic interchange. I know what that means now. Uh, Different clays of thing, entities, continents come together, and now it's like, it's like America. If you really think about it, biotic interchange is America. American as hell. We're the most biotically interchanged country in the world, I'm assuming, because I live here. Uh, you know what? I feel like I'm in a pretty good vantage point. I'm going to say I'm
The
right.
immediate effect of this is that species that have evolved for equivalent niches in their respective biotas will now be brought into competition with each other, usually resulting in extinction for whichever one happens to be less well adapted, causing a substantial restructuring of the biotas in only a few million years. The longer the biotas have been separated from each other before the interchange, the more time they'll have had to diverge from each other, and therefore the more dramatic the effects of the interchange will be. One of the most profound interchange events in the history of life on Earth was the Great American Interchange, when North and South America, which had been separated since the age of the dinosaurs, collided with each other about 3 million years ago, allowing species to migrate across the Isthmus of Panama, resulting in huge changes to the biotas of both continents. Curiously though, the interchange had a much greater effect on the South American biota than the North American one, with the majority of the native South American megafauna being rapidly outcompeted and driven to extinction by their North American competitors. So that today, about...
Hey, I am not gonna lie though. Shout outs to North America. Again, if you're South American watching this video right now, I'm sorry. You guys had great... You had some great creatures out there. They did their thing back in their time. They just ran into prime North American creatures. It's like, freaking Charles Barkley was incredible, but he just ran into Michael Jordan. It is what it is. You hate to see it.
Half of all South American mammals descend from North American ancestors. Interchange events often show this sort of asymmetry, where one biota finds greater success and largely supplants the other, which are therefore sometimes called the donator and recipient biotas respectively. The approach of the two continents on our alien planet will likewise result in biotic interchange on a continental scale, turning the interface of the two continents into an evolutionary battleground. The exact outcome of such a large-scale event is difficult to predict, but there are a number of ecological factors that may influence how things play out. Possibly the greatest predictor of the outcome of interchange events is land area. The larger a habitat is, the more resources it will offer and the greater diversity it will support, and the more competitive its native species will be. This is one reason why island ecosystems are at such risk from invasive species from the mainland, while island-dwelling species rarely pose similar threats if they spread to other land masses. The island of Isla Proxima formed at the end of the Ice Age as a result of rising sea levels, but in the tens of millions of years that follow, tectonic uplift and changing coastlines will eventually reconnect the island with the eastern continent, resulting in interchange with the mainland clays. During its isolation, Isla Proxima's small size and limited food resulted in the death of the dominant clades of large herbivores and predators, creating a relatively uncompetitive ecosystem where smaller clades thrived. But when the island rejoins the mainland, the native herbivores, like the nanopods, won't be able to compete with their larger...
Whoa! Oh, I like this one. Shout out to the crafty crocodile. I like how lifelike the but animated they feel. Also, the eyes feel so I feel like I see some soul within the eyes here. And this guy's up here is pretty scary. So
relatives.
I see how they feel.
And the predatory teratochirids and mammaliopods aren't as well equipped as the onocodonts to tackle large prey.
Okay.
And so virtually all of Isla Proxima's native fauna will be swiftly driven to extinction.
Dang.
Even on a continental scale, the more successful biota during interchange events is usually the one from the larger landmass. While North and South America are of roughly similar sizes, North America has been periodically connected to Eurasia, and by extension Africa, throughout its history, meaning its biota was representative of a more or less global area, while South America had been completely isolated for tens of millions of years by the time the interchange took place. Even species that rafted to South America from
So, like, wait, did like South America break off first? Like, what was the first continent? Do we know? Like, the continent that broke off Pangea verse? Like, who was it? Was it them or Australia? You know, was it Antarctica? You know, which one was it? Comment down below. Who was the first person to do that? Or not person, what was the first continent to do that?
Africa, like the ancestors of New World monkeys and caviomorph rodents, were still able to compete effectively with the South American biota, and have since become highly successful and diverse groups, with some even managing to spread into North America. Though the Western continent is the slightly larger of the two, both are still roughly comparable in size, so any competitive advantage as biota gains from land area alone may only be very minor. But the outcome of the interchange may also be influenced by the climate. In the American interchange, South America's warm tropical conditions made it relatively easy for North American clades to migrate south, while South American clades moving northward were impeded by drier habitats that they had no adaptations for coping with. On our alien planet, the eastern continent has remained centered on tropical latitudes throughout its existence, and so much of the landscape has enjoyed a warm, stable climate, while the western continent has seen much greater climatic variation. As well as experiencing a huge faunal turnover as a result of the Ice Age, the continent's great latitudinal breadth allows it to support a wide range of biomes, from tundra and cold deserts in the north to temperate forests and plains to large coastal rainforests at the equator and expanses of hot deserts for
This really is just America, isn't it?
further inland. This means the western species will have little difficulty in adapting to the fertile plains and forests of the eastern continent, while any eastern species migrating westward will quickly arrive in biomes that are less hospitable than those they evolved in. This asymmetric migration may mean that the western species will comprise the donator biota and the eastern clades will serve as the recipient biota. The first stage of the interchange will begin before the continents even join. As they approach each other, the diminishing distance between them will make rafting events more feasible. As early as 4 million years before the Isthmus of Panama formed, a species of North American procyanid managed to raft across the Central American Seaway and establish a radiation of South American forms, even giving...
What the heck is this thing? What is this guy? This is like a furry. This is like a guy in a furry suit. This don't... Oh my gosh. This is so creepy looking. I would literally die of like just shock from seeing that thing if I ever saw it in person. How big is this thing? Is it like the same size as this other raccoon over here? Because if not, if it's like human sized, I'm actually gonna think it's a person in a furry outfit. If I saw that, I would think that's just a person.
Rise to large predators like forms, small
Whoa,
diplostomes, and some
down.
of the basal platodonts. But when a land bridge finally forms, it won't be long before megafauna make their way across, among the first of which will be large herbivores seeking new feeding grounds. Since the Ice Age, the most successful group of large herbivores on the western continent have been the alabrachids, of which at least one clade living in the southern areas near the land bridge may move into the eastern plains, where they'll now enter competition with the camptopods and other eastern leptopods. Although the outcome of this competition may not be as one-sided as what occurred during the American interchange, the alabrachids do have several key advantages over the camptopods. Their centaurism gives them more efficient locomotion and greater speed, and allows them to use their front limbs to forage for food, and their fur makes their thermoregulation more efficient, letting them sustain longer periods of high activity and allowing them to survive in a greater range of climates, which is a big reason why they were able to fill the niches of older herbivores during the Ice Age. But one of their biggest advantages pertains to their reproduction. Being thylacopods, female alabrachids use their pouch-like gonopods to cradle their developing ootheca, giving them a much higher rate of juvenile survival than most other osteopod clades. With this pre-hatching parental care, these animals have specialized for K selection.
K selection over here. We're all K selections. Shout out to all my K selections watching.
Which provides the greatest benefit in ecosystems with high levels of competition and that are near carrying capacity. While some camptopods may have evolved nest guarding behaviors and other basic forms of parental care, They don't have the same degree of K-selector traits as the Alabrachids, who will therefore have a sizable edge in the highly competitive habitats at the interface of the two continents. This advantage will also be strengthened by their breeding system. All species that have a distinction between male and female sexes will have to contend with, say it with me now, Bateman's principle, which states that males gain a greater benefit from having multiple mates than females do.
Whoa, Bateman. I didn't think we were going to go sue Red Pill this episode. Okay, this is the episode where we all get Red Pilled. Bring out the fresh and fit. Come on. Come on. Bring them all out. Where's the thing where guys should have multiple partners, but women should be in the kitchen and all the stuff? Come on. These birds should stay in the house while the guy goes out and makes a bunch of other birds. Let's hear it. Come on. That's called sarcasm, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
It therefore seems logical for species to tend towards polygyny, which is indeed one of the most common breeding systems, but females do still get some benefits from mating with more than one male. For one thing, it means greater genetic variation among her offspring, increasing their chances of survival in variable and competitive environments and speeding up the rate of adaptation.
True. But then think of the societal implications when her parents have to hear about that. And they're like, oh, my daughter's a... I'm sorry. I'm still making sexist jokes because of the fresh fit thing. They're not, I don't know. Are these jokes actually sexist? I don't know. Women, comment down below. Are you offended? Hopefully not. These were all literal sarcastic jokes. Back to the video.
After all, increased genetic diversity is one of the key advantages of sexual reproduction in the first place. Plus, in species in which the female is able to store the male's gametes, having multiple mates will give her a greater variety of gametes to choose from, and let her preferentially select gametes from the fittest males even after she's mated with them.
Really?
Many of the captopods...
Hold on now. Is that a thing y'all can do? Ladies, is that a thing y'all can do? Is this something you guys have been hiding from us the whole time? These are one of those things that you just don't tell men about. Like, oh yeah, by the way, I can like pre-select which one. You know, if I'm, you know, okay. Again, these are jokes. I know I've had an issue sometimes where people can't tell when I'm being serious and then when I'm making a sarcastic joke. So I just want to clarify that was a joke. Unless y'all know actually how to do that, then be serious with me. Women, comment down below. Can you choose? I just want to know. You know what? I'm starting to think about it. Right to choose. Right to choose. Okay.
Such as the Spheneceratops have evolved polygynous
That's enough for me right now.
mating systems like harems, which, since all the group's offspring share the same father, have fairly limited genetic diversity, while the looser structure of the Alabrachid herds and their lekking behaviours may lead to many species evolving polygynandry, in which both males and females have multiple mates within a single breeding season.
Hey.
This greater genetic diversity will complement...
Whoa, holy crap. What is this? What am I looking at right now? This is like a real video.
their adaptations for K-selection.
Who made this? Burpopo? Bro, you need to be working for Discovery Channel. What is this? This is incredible. This is like next level. I was not expecting this whatsoever. I don't know if this, like, I want to make this the thumbnail, but also it may not be like the most colorful thing. But at the same time, this is actually freaking incredible. Look at what's happening on the screen right now.
Which, along with their efficient locomotion and thermoregulation,
but
will let them gain a
this
foothold on the plains of the eastern continent, giving rise to thermoregulation their adaptation single breeding season.
But look at this.
This greater genetic diversity will complement their adaptations for K-selection.
Look at what I'm looking at.
Which, along with their efficient locomotion and thermoregulation, will let them gain a foothold on the plains of the eastern continent, giving rise to a new clade of eastern Alabrachids that we'll call the Neobrachids. But as they establish themselves, some Neobrachids may also manage to move...
How would you go about pronouncing the artist's name here? Like, you know, PHTH. It's like when you throw like a needle, like. Okay, guys, I don't know what's happening with me right now. It's the time zone change. I'm never used to it. It gets me really loopy throughout the day. I don't know. Am I me?
Move into the
Let's
niches of
continue.
larger
I'm
herbivores.
just saying things at this
On
point.
the eastern continent, the titanopods have held their position as the largest herbivores since they first evolved over 100 million years ago. While on the western continent, the Ice Age killed off most titanopod species.
Okay, I hate to be that guy, but I really did think these two were down here getting busy, like right in front of everybody, bro. Like this, we don't even like. Come, this is a whole nother guy right here. We're just gonna do that right in front of this guy. You're letting this guy watch? Like that's crazy. He already got the little shadow over him, like he's in a corner or something. But no, they're just play fighting
Outside the tropics, and even those that survive may struggle to maintain dominance once the alabrachids evolve. The titanopods are bulky and slow, and have a very limited range of motion due to the rigid structure of their limb girdles. Most species have no defense against predators other than their size, and they have no ability to regulate their body temperature beyond relying on gigantothermy. In contrast, the alabrachids are much faster and more agile thanks to their cursorial adaptations, and are less sensitive to climate fluctuations and are able to maintain higher levels of activity thanks to their endothermy. This may mean that if some neobrachids reach larger sizes, they'll be able to compete effectively enough to intrude upon the titanopod's niches and establish.
Guys, those freaking blades coming out of their freaking. That's crazy.
Establish a new clade of giant herbivores. Although their ancestors were covered in coarse hair, getting larger will mean they'll generate more body heat, so they won't need any specialized integument to keep them warm, and so reduce their covering of fur in much the same way as large mammals like elephants and rhinos, retaining only a large mane used for display and social signaling. In fact, the warm tropical climate of the eastern gallery forests may present a risk of overheating, which they may counter by increasing their surface area, evolving a crest or dewlap on the underside of their cephalothorax to radiate away any excess heat. Growing larger will also have implications for their reproduction. The number of offspring a species produces in a single reproductive event will be contingent on various ecological factors, but a decent rule of thumb is Lack's principle, which states that a species' average clutch size will be roughly equal to the maximum number of young the parents are able to provide adequate resources for. Larger animals take a longer time to develop and require more resources to grow, both before and after birth, and therefore their young represent a greater reproductive investment, which is one reason why large body sizes are correlated with K selection and reduced clutch sizes. However, for animals that produce live young, larger offspring require longer gestation periods and more resources during their development, and so the animal will only be able to grow so large before reproduction becomes too great a burden on the mother to be practical, meaning viviparous animals tend to have a lower limit on their maximum size than egg-laying ones. Although the alabrachids don't give birth to live young, growing bigger will necessarily involve producing larger oothecae, but their gonopods can only hold so much weight, so above a certain size, they'll have to abandon the ancestral thalaccopod condition of carrying their young around with them, and will instead need to make nests and guard the oothecae until they hatch. Being herding animals, they'll congregate at communal nesting sites where they can lay their eggs in relative safety. Along with the other neobrachids, the evolution of these large herbivores, which we'll call phylacrobrachids, will force many
bald arms. I thought it'd be like titanobrachids or something. It was like big arm, like super big arms, like ultra bracket. You know what I mean?
Of the eastern herbivores into decline. Most of the larger species of camptopods and other eastern leptopods whose adaptations put them in direct competition with the neobrachids will likely die out within a few million years, leaving only the smaller, more adaptable species that are still able to find niches, while the only advantage the titanopods have over the phylacrobrachids is their sheer.
What the heck is this? Why is this so freaking cool? Look at this guy. Look at this guy up here. He knows he's the boss.
Size, so only a handful of exceptionally large species like the stylopods may survive, feeding on foliage out of even the phylacrobrachids' reach. But worse still, as the Alabrachids cross the land bridge, they'll be followed by the Enzodonts and the other western Onocodont clades, which will present an entirely new source of predation against which the eastern herbivores will have had no way of preparing for, leading to the extinction of yet more species. However, the predatory niches here are already occupied by other Onocodonts like the Cryptodonts, once again sparking competition between the two clades. The key difference between these Onocodont groups is in their weaponry. The Enzodonts' robust pincer-like pedipalps make them much better suited than the Cryptodonts to bringing down large prey, so the Enzodonts may be able to quickly outcompete most of the macropredatory Cryptodonts and assume the niches of top predators. However, the Cryptodonts still have the advantage in catching small, fast prey thanks to their gracile bodies and mantis-like raptorial forelimbs, which may allow some species to differentiate their niches enough from the Enzodonts to not be entirely outcompeted. These relatively small, fast Cryptodonts, which we'll call Tachydonts,
swift teeth. Tachydonts.
Among the relatively few eastern clades that are lucky enough to be pre-adapted to the pressures brought on by the interchange.
I kind of like the Tachydonts. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like they kind of, it's like like how a cheetah is in real life, but a lot less, useless. Because apparently, if you don't know, cheetahs, they're fast, but that's it. They kind of suck. No strength. No retractable claws. They can't climb up stuff. They're pretty sure their claws get all worn out from freaking, them going so fast. They take up so much energy to do it. They're weak. You can break one of their bones. Like, I'm pretty sure a regular person can just beat up a cheetah if they had to. But it's just like, dang, bro. But this one, it's like a cheetah, but like, I feel like he's still gonna be kind of cool.
Possibly even managing to spread westward across the land bridge. For although the donator biota has the overall competitive advantage, the recipient biota may still have members that survive or even profit from the interchange.
Yeah.
One of the few clades of native South American mammals that survive to the present day are the Xenothrans, the sloths, anteaters, and armadillos, which seem to have been lucky enough to have just the right combination of traits that made them more...
Well, good thing they had giant sloths back in those days, like cutting out mountains and stuff, and now, they got reduced to this, but, some of them are still kind of cool, apparently.
Resistant to the northern invaders than other South American clades. In fact, they proved to be so successful that they were one of the few South American clades to spread into North America. One adaptation that contributed to their success was having suitable defenses against the influx of new predators, particularly in the case of the cingulates, the group of Xenothrans that includes armadillos and the extinct Glyptodonts, which were some of the only mammals to ever invest in armor. There's even evidence that some Glyptodonts evolved heavier and spikier armor as the interchange took place in response to increased predation. This being the case, the eastern clades with sufficient adaptations against predators may be some of the most likely to survive. With their banded shell and venomous spines, the Pronacanthids are some of the most well-defended of the eastern clades. So,
guys, I don't know why I just thought about this, but I'm sure people can comment down below. Is it really hard to do like archaeological research out in like the Amazon and stuff, just because of all like the mud and like just like with the the way the nature is, and then also trying to preserve the Amazon? Like, do researchers just like really want to explore like what's underneath the Amazon, but they're like, oh, that's like violating like 50 laws, you can't do that, it's like, what's going on down there? How's anthropology and stuff going on down there? How are you guys doing down there, anthropologists? Any South American anthropologists watching this video, go ahead and let me know. Comment down below. How's everything going with you guys? Is it harder than doing it in North America? Like, I'm sure we got a bunch of places nobody cares. Like, oh yeah, you can dig up over there. Just if you find some oil, just it's government property now. But like down there, is it like, hey, ain't no digging in the rainforest? Or they're like, whoa, you know what? There's probably a bunch of interesting species in the ground of the rainforest. I imagine, from like a very long time. So have we been looking that up? Is it harder? Is it impossible to look it up because of the area? Comment down below. Let me know.
They may fare well during the interchange. And among them, the protection the phylactocanthids provide to their hoplopod symbionts may help them survive as well. An armoured shell is also an ancestral trait among the Plecostricans, and in the areas into which the
Oh
western
crap!
predators
What?
spread, those
Okay,
with the most
guys, I'm sorry. He just digivolved. Look at this.
Plecostricans,
He
and in
digivolved
the areas into which the
into
western
this.
predators spread, those with the most impenetrable shells.
That is a digi-evolution. I can't even say Pokemon evolution no more. Well, actually, no. That might still be a Pokemon evolution, but it looks so much cooler. I might actually call it a Digimon. Again, if you don't know, based off the history of this channel, I like Pokemon more, but let's be real, Digimon do look a little cooler. Like, you know?
Will be selected for. In the several million years after the land bridge forms, some of these Plecostricans will evolve rows of spikes along their shells to further repel attackers, as well as extra armor around their vulnerable head and legs. We'll call these most heavily defended of Plecostricans the Echinostricans.
Okay.
The only predators who have a decent chance of getting through the Echinostricans' defenses are the Maliagnathans, who've specialised for durophagy by evolving some of the strongest bite forces of any osteopods to crack open bones and other inedible parts of carcasses. By adapting their jaws for breaking open the Echinostrican shells, they'll have access to a food source that almost no other predator can compete for. But this feeding behaviour won't be immune to exploitation. Kleptoparasitism is a behaviour in which an organism steals food that another animal has already gathered or caught, which saves the kleptoparasite the time and effort of collecting its own food.
I think they say like 10, like maybe, no. I want to say it's either between 10 and 30% of cheetahs' kills get stolen away from them. So like, you a hungry cheetah, all you got is your speed for real. You ain't got no strength. You finally get this freaking, antelope down, and all of a sudden a freaking, what other animal, anything, a lion or a leopard or anything, just comes and takes your meal and just smacks you upside the head, like, get on out of here. And you just got to be like, and then try to run away. But you can't even run away because you already spent all your energy trying to get this, this thing here. And it's like, boom, it just got stolen. What do you do as a cheetah? It's hard out here for a cheetah.
While many animals will steal food if given the chance, some species specialize for it to the extent that kleptoparasitism accounts for a significant part of their diet. The most frequent targets of kleptoparasitism are species that are adapted to exploit food sources that are largely inaccessible to other animals, such as oyster catchers that crack open the shells of bivalves or diving birds that bring underwater prey to the surface, both of which are often mobbed by other birds once they've obtained their prey.
Dang.
The Maliagnathans will be similarly vulnerable to kleptoparasitism from other predators, who will try to steal the Echinostrican corpses from them after they've already done the work of breaking open their shells.
They made a whole anime.
Possibly the most likely source of this
manga.
kleptoparasitism will be from other Maliagnathans. Emery's rule states that kleptoparasites and other social parasites tend to be closely related to the species they parasitize, although there are plenty of exceptions to this. This rule results from the fact that kleptoparasitism is most often an intraspecific interaction, where one animal steals food from another member of the...
It makes sense dogs are in here, because I promise you I can't put down a freaking plate in front of a dog ever. Every time I'm around a dog, I got some food or something, they're just looking at me like, ooh, I really want that. No, you're a dog. You can't have this. You don't even eat this stuff. I can have a chocolate bar or something. Next thing you know, I got a dog staring me down like, yeah, I want that chocolate bar. You can't even eat this. You couldn't eat this if I wanted you to have it, brother. Like, calm down, Scooby.
Same species. There will always be some degree of variation in any species, and therefore some individuals will naturally be able to gather food more effectively than others. So those with less adaptive traits may compensate for their disadvantage by stealing food from their competitors, and if this proves to be a successful strategy, the descendants of these individuals may ultimately branch off as a new species of specialist kleptoparasite. If this occurs in the Maliagnathans, the resulting clade may undergo physical adaptations for their new kleptoparasitic lifestyle. Since they no longer have to crunch through hard shells, their jaws will become weaker and less robust, but they'll also reach larger sizes than other Maliagnathans to more easily bully them out of their kills. On account of these feeding behaviours, we'll call them Lestignathans. Meanwhile, some clades may find...
What? Lestignathans?
We'll call them lestignathans.
Lestignathans? Robber jaws? That's
Meanwhile,
hilarious.
some clades may find other ways to defend themselves against the Western predators. The Kentrodonts are equipped with venom, which serves not only as a defense mechanism, but also as a weapon in hunting, letting them take down prey much larger than most other predators of their size. In the rainforest along the eastern coast, the Kentrodonts have given rise to forms like the Aspidonts that specialize in catching flying animals, and the Phyllophorans that feed on nectarivores. But other, more generalist Kentrodonts exist in forests all across the continent, and with their impressive armament, they may be able to compete for niches throughout the fringe of jungle along the northern coast of the land bridge. Their venom already gives them an edge over their western competitors, but the increased evolutionary pressure from moving into new ecosystems may result in them acquiring new adaptations. All lophostomes have a pair of eye stalks, each tipped with 3 eyes. In most species, these eyes are quite weak and are better at sensing motion than resolving clear images, so some groups may compensate for their poor vision with other senses. While thermoreception, the ability to sense temperature, is ubiquitous among animals on Earth, a handful of clades have the ability to process infrared thermal radiation using the same region of the brain dedicated to vision, allowing them to effectively see heat in the same way they see visible light. This ability has evolved twice among snakes, which allows them to detect the body heat of prey and to find areas of suitable warmth, as well as in vampire bats, which are able to sense blood-rich hotspots on their host's body. And melanophila beetles use their infrared sensing to detect forest fires, as their larvae are only adapted to feeding on freshly burnt wood.
That might be the most insane thing of all 3 of those. What? When did you be like, we're only going to evolve to lay our eggs in burnt wood? Yeah, we just like the burnt stuff, you know? What? What were y'all doing before then? Were y'all born in a burning forest fire? Like, was this species created in a forest fire? What are you, the Phoenix? Get out of here, bro.
Clade of Kentrodonts.
Who are you? Who do you think you are? Jean Grey?
Were to evolve infrared sensing.
That's a Marvel joke for all you deep cuts. I'm wearing I got the Wolverine shirt on today. I had to make at least one Jean Grey joke.
Not only help them hunt in low light, but it will be particularly beneficial when it comes to sensing endothermic animals, as endothermy inherently produces more body heat than ectothermy, allowing these Kentrodonts to more easily target prey like the Opisthophorans and Pleropterans and to avoid larger predators.
I'm sorry, I see this in real life. It doesn't even have to attack me, bro. I'm just dying. I see this in real life. I don't care how big it is. It could be this big, that big, this. It doesn't matter. I'm dying from the shock of seeing this thing with my own eyes. Look at this. It's a snake with claws. And also the head comes out like in different, and it's got 6 eyes. It's like, hey, can we think of a snake but like make it like 10 times scarier? Oh yeah, also put it in a big rainforest and make it so it hangs and gets you like snakes do, but make it scarier than snakes. Whoever made this, you guys thought of this idea. I can't even be mad because I was here for the journey. I was here for the whole journey, and I'm still this shocked. Where if I saw this thing again, it don't even have to be around me. It could be like across the street for all I care. I see that thing, I'm dead. It's in my vicinity. I see what it looks like. I die instantly. It doesn't even look in my direction. It just like looks around in the area that I was in. And I'm like, yo, I died.
It's like the Onodonts. On Earth, virtually all clades capable of sensing infrared have convergently evolved pit-shaped receptors, which are riddled with blood vessels for rapid heat exchange and contain nerve endings that carry the signals they detect to the visual centers of the brain. These Kentrodonts may evolve similar receptors from the remnants of the sensory setae on their eye stalks, becoming vascularized pits around the eyes that transmit the signals to the optic lobes. But while these Kentrodonts, which we'll call Trypophorans, will rely on their senses and weaponry to survive, other Kentrodonts may instead adapt by developing new life history strategies. Once again, highly competitive ecosystems like those at the center of the interchange tend to favor K selection, so another clade of Kentrodonts may increase their juvenile survival rates by evolving one particular reproductive behavior. While most parasites will depend entirely on their host throughout their whole lives, parasitoids only spend part of their life cycle attached to their host before eventually killing it once they're developed enough to survive independently.
Oh, wow.
On Earth, parasitoidy occurs in as much as 10% of all insect species, among which it's evolved dozens of times, and usually involves the animal laying its eggs on or within a host to serve as a living incubator for their larvae, which then feed on and kill the host once they hatch. One clade of Kentrodonts may begin the transition to parasitoidy by evolving to deliver their eggs onto the corpse of freshly killed prey to provide them with a first meal upon hatching. But by evolving venom that only paralyzes the target rather than outright killing it, the host won't decompose in the time it takes for the young to develop.
Why is this like the scariest Clyde, like, of all of them? This is like the scariest one for me. At least the other ones, they're big enough for me to be like, all right, let me get out of here. Or like they're more like, I don't know, four-legged. It's them being snakish, like it's them also being like snakes. I will say that freaks me out a little bit more.
Once the young hatch, do they kill and eat the host, a behavior by which these Kentrodonts will qualify as full-fledged parasitoids. Like most other parasites, parasitoids are usually highly host-specific, most often co-evolving with a particular host clade or even a single species. Some of the most abundant animals that these parasitoid Kentrodonts share the treetops with are the scandopods, which represent one of the earliest radiations of fully arboreal osteopods, and have since undergone considerable diversification, now being a common sight in forests across the planet. Being so prolific, they'll be a food source for many arboreal predators, but for these Kentrodonts, they'll also serve as ideal hosts. Just as true parasites may be either ectoparasitic or endoparasitic, parasitoids may be either ectoparasitoid, attaching their eggs to the outside of the host, or endoparasitoid, laying their eggs within the host's body. The basal members of these parasitoid Kentrodonts will be ectoparasitoids, simply attaching the eggs to the host's exterior and injecting it with paralytic venom to ensure that it doesn't damage or dislodge the eggs. Parasitoids that prevent the movement or development of their hosts in this way are called idiobionts, almost all of which are ectoparasitoids. However, the eggs of endoparasitoids will be
Jesus Christ. Guys, what is this? I would die from just seeing this. This isn't even like, what the hell? I wouldn't even be able to be like, yo, oh, it's in a building across the street. I hear about this thing. I might die. This is how crazy this is. Look at this. Don't let this. You wake up in the middle of the night, you see this on your wall. What do? If your answer isn't die, I don't know who you are. You're incredible. If your answer isn't die immediately, if you try to fight back against this thing, if your first thought is, oh, I see this on my wall, let me try to fight back. Hey, it was good knowing you. You know, let me shake your hand one last time, sir. It was a great time knowing you. You know, me personally, hey, this is your place now, buddy. I'm dead. Boom, and then I disappear. I'm not even like a dead body. I fully disintegrate within the existence of reality. I'm just no longer around. I might not even technically die. I've stopped existing within the realm that we know. The mortal realm is no longer for me. The moment I see this thing, because I'm not getting bit by this thing, so my whole body just instantly disappears into the nothingness, which is the fear that I will be living in at this moment. So there you go.
Within the host's body.
That's my feelings about this particular creature.
So immobilizing it becomes unnecessary, and therefore the majority of endoparasitoids are koinobiont, allowing the host to continue movement and growth while the eggs develop inside it. While the earliest members of these Kentrodonts will be ectoparasitoid idiobionts, becoming koinobionts may help some species achieve a wider dispersal, as their still moving hosts will help transport the developing young to new areas. As all lophostomes have their reproductive glands located within their mouth, these Kentrodonts may evolve an oral ovipositor with which they can inject the eggs into the host's body. Without the need to paralyze the host, they may evolve weaker venom or even lose their venom entirely, becoming coinobionts in so doing. Like many parasitoid clades on Earth, these kentrodonts, which we'll call dinoglossids, may see the transition between ecto and
Dinoglossus, terrible tongue. Hey, we've all met a terrible tongue or two, am I right? Can you guys high five the screen? You know, I'm doing this for you guys so you can high five the screen with me. If you're watching right now, just put your hand on the screen. We're gonna bow. There we go. We did it.
and endoparasitoidy occur multiple times, each species co-evolving with its own unique host species of scandapod or other small platodont. But the animals with the greatest odds of surviving the interchange will be small generalists, as the more survival strategies are available to a species, the easier it will be for them to undergo niche partitioning to avoid competition. While the marsupials and other metatherians were once widespread throughout South America, one of the only clades to survive the Great American Interchange were the opossums, which were
Really? I freaking can't stand possums.
generalist enough to cope with the increased competition, with one species, the Virginia opossum, being the only marsupial species to spread into North America. Among the eastern clades, the pipiodonts are adaptable enough to feed on whatever they can find at ground level, and their social system lets them more effectively gather food and evade predators than other opisthophorans, so they may have some of the greatest success in migrating westward. They'll be accompanied by various other lophostome species, as well as many scandapods and other basal platodonts, but the western biota will have generalists of its own. As adaptable mesocarnivores that have evolved to thrive in inhospitable and competitive habitats, the xenopsids will be more than tenacious enough to cross the land bridge. A large part of the xenopsid success is owed to their feeding arrangement. While the pedipalps do the work of shearing off and cutting up chunks of food, the mandibles bear broad, flat teeth to further grind down the food before it's swallowed, letting them tackle almost any food source they come across. In some species, the mandibles may become partially internalized so as to not get in the way of the pedipalps, which will move forward to more easily close over and restrain prey. The other major factor leading to their success is their social structure.
Okay.
Their pack hunting behaviors let them compete against larger predators in regions where prey is scarce or difficult to hunt, and their cooperative breeding ensures a high rate of survival among their offspring. As we discussed in the last episode, cooperative breeding is closely associated with monogamy, which maximizes relatedness among the group members' offspring to let them gain the maximum possible inclusive fitness from helping in one another's reproduction. However, as mentioned earlier, having multiple mates increases the offspring's genetic diversity, which strengthens their chances of survival. This trade-off means that even species that exhibit cooperative breeding may still occasionally seek additional mates. In the xenopsids, this may be influenced by their dominance hierarchy, in which females have greater access to food and mating opportunities than males do. This may lead to some species exhibiting polyandry, a mating system in which females have multiple mates while males each mate with only a single female.
Whoa, what's the opposite of red pill? This is super pink pilled right now. Bring on the female fresh and fit. Bring out fresh and fit with wigs on. Come on.
Polyandry is one of the least common mating systems, as it's the opposite of what would be expected from Bateman's principle. But there are some rare ecological circumstances under which it may be favoured. One benefit is that the female will be able to distribute the duties of parental care among her mates. In fact, almost all of the very few bird species that exhibit male-only parental care are polyandrous. In sequential or serial poly...
I feel like I want to call them a cuck, but I also feel like that would be wrong. Yeah, it would be wrong.
polyandry, the female will abandon the male after laying the eggs and begin looking for a new mate. But if the female is capable of producing more offspring than a single male could feasibly care for, this may lead to simultaneous polyandry, in which the female maintains nests with multiple males at the same time.
Dang, big baller over here. Look at her. Queen bee over here. You know, don't mess with this chick. She'll add you to her harem. It's a harem.
In especially rare cases, this can manifest as cooperative polyandry, in which all the males that a female mates with will remain with her at a single nest and all work together to raise the young. Since the offspring don't share the same father, the males don't gain the same degree of inclusive fitness as they would from monogamous forms of cooperative breeding, but working together may still provide a greater chance of any given male's young surviving than each male raising their...
Is it my turn to watch the kids? Okay, honey, I'll watch them today.
young individually. Polyandry is also
Shout outs to these animals, bro. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
associated with more intense mate competition among females, which often result in a reversal of the typical pattern of sexual selection seen in other mating systems. Polyandrous females tend to show sexually dimorphic traits like larger body sizes and brighter coloration, while the males are often comparatively small and drab. The female xenopsids are already larger than the males, and in the polyandrous species they may also develop markings around their faces and forearms to attract additional mates. It's important to note that relatively few species will be restricted to a single mating system, and that many species will alternate between different mating systems depending on the availability of mates and other resources in their habitat.
Okay.
Likewise, these xenopsids, which we'll call stenopsids, will vary their mating system to suit whatever ecological situation they find themselves in. The need to balance relatedness with genetic diversity leads to flexibility in mating systems among many forms of cooperative breeding. Although monogamy is an unavoidable prerequisite for the evolution of eusociality, many eusocial species show a surprising versatility in their mating systems, some species of bees and ants having among the highest rates of polyandry of all animals. This will apply to clades like the ramphidonts as well, as although their helpers gain maximum inclusive fitness from monogamy, the breeding female may still take the opportunity to mate with any wandering males that visit her burrow to replenish or supplement her supply of gametes.
Alright now, lady, calm down. Keep it in your pants.
As small, hardy generalists, some ramphidont species may also be able to spread eastward, giving rise to new clades along the way. While the Eryctochirids have become completely adapted for a fossorial existence, and thus have no need for large complex eyes in their lightless tunnels, the basal ramphidonts still spend a significant portion of their time out of their burrows, especially when foraging at night, and so they'll retain enlarged anterior eyes equipped with a tapetum lucidum and an external membrane that fills the function of both an eyelid and an iris.
Okay.
In some species, these eyes may be complemented...
Holy crap. Burpopo, you're doing a lot right now. This is crazy.
by special orbital muscles that let them swivel within their sockets to scan their surroundings for danger. As their forelimbs become increasingly specialized for digging and handling food, they'll become less efficient in locomotion, which may result in some species undergoing centaurism, capable of holding their digging claws off the ground. But once again, the greatest component of their success lies in their reproductive
Creepy-looking
behaviors.
guy.
One of the major benefits of cooperative breeding is that all of the members of the social group working together will be able to provide more care for the collective offspring, which, as described by Lack's principle, will make it feasible for them to produce more offspring at a time.
True.
To leverage this advantage, they'll benefit from adaptations that allow them to care for the young as efficiently as possible. One way of doing this is to provide the newly born young with a special form of nourishment that's easier for them to feed on. The most obvious example of this is the milk produced by female mammals, but similar adaptations are found in many other clades. Some birds, like pigeons, emperor penguins, and flamingos, have independently evolved crop milk, a special secretion produced in the throat that they regurgitate for their hatchlings. And in addition to milk, female koalas even produce a unique form of fecal matter called pap, which the young feed on before they develop the complex guts they need to feed on plant matter directly.
Are you kidding me? Are you telling me that baby koalas eat poop? Is this what you're telling me? Am I currently watching or looking at a photo of a baby koala eating poop? You know, a long time ago, I used to date this chick. She used to love koalas. You know, it was funny. I wish that she knew this information right now, but years ago, I wish I knew this information years ago to tell her when she knew, and I think it would have been funny. I think it would have been a funny moment. Right now, this is just disgusting.
Similarly, for the first few months of their lives, the Ramphidonts don't have sufficiently developed digestive systems to tackle most food sources, so when the helpers provide their younger siblings with food, they'll pre-chew it and partially digest it before regurgitating it. This may even lead to the evolution of a cecum, or specialized offshoot of the foregut for storing food, containing glands that produce enzymes that turn the food into an edible paste. Since the role of caring for the young is carried out entirely by the helpers, any helpers that inherit breeding status will gradually lose these organs as they mature. But while increasing the efficiency of their parental care may help these Ramphidonts, which we'll call acrochirids, to survive in the competitive habitat created by the interchange, these behaviors will once again be open to exploitation. Brood parasites lay their eggs in the nests of other animals,
who
then mistake the brood parasites' young for their own and provide care for them. Some of the most well-known brood parasites are cuckoos, but similar behaviors have independently evolved in dozens of other clades. Like kleptoparasitism, brood parasitism often, though not always, follows the pattern of Emery's rule, beginning as an intraspecific interaction from which the brood parasites eventually branch off as a new species. The Ramphidonts first evolved helpers at the nest in response to the high cost of dispersal in the barren deserts and valleys of the western continent, but if they spread into richer habitats where cooperative breeding no longer returns greater fitness than breeding individually, they may abandon sociality and revert to being solitary, as has happened in many social species on Earth. Indeed, habitats that can accommodate larger populations will provide more opportunities for a female to deposit her eggs into a nearby nest, which explains why brood parasitism is most common in species that nest colonially or that live at high population densities. In the Ramphidonts that
it's almost like they have an issue with immigration in these cities.
spread into the lush eastern plains, brood parasitism may provide wandering females with additional opportunities for reproduction if they can't find suitable spots to dig their own burrows, instead sneaking into another Ramphidont's burrow and depositing their young while the resident helpers are distracted or away gathering food. For the first few months of their lives, one female's grubs look much the same as another's, so the helpers may not even realize the nest has been infiltrated, and will provide care for the new young alongside the others. In most cases, brood parasitism will be a facultative behavior, only serving as an optional strategy alongside more typical reproductive behaviors. But if it proves successful enough, it may evolve into obligate brood parasitism, the species becoming so specialized that it loses the ability to look after its own young entirely, and can only reproduce through...
These like the moms that be in the clubs, but never around their children. I keep saying I'm done.
Parasitizing other nests. One major benefit of this is that, without any need to provide any parental care, the brood parasite will be free to hugely increase its clutch size, which will also let them parasitize more nests to give them more chances for successful reproduction. Having a brood parasite's young in their nest is obviously a detriment to the host, as they won't gain any fitness from wasting time and energy to care for the young of an unrelated animal. Plus, brood parasites tend to have young that are larger and that grow faster than the host species, so that they're able to more easily outcompete their nestmates. And many also kill the host's young so that they receive a greater proportion of care. The hatchlings of greater honey guides have sharp tips on their beaks with which they attack and kill their step-siblings, and newly hatched cuckoos engage in what's called egg tossing, pushing the eggs around them out of the nest.
No, like doing this from birth is actually insane. Like, how do you even... Is this like an accidental thing that they're doing? Is this like an actual, like, it's built into my blood, bro. I already know.
This puts a pressure on the hosts to recognize and kill any brood parasite's young they find in their nest, though they do so at the risk of accidentally killing their own young. Some brood parasites respond to this by evolving eggs that mimic the appearance of the host's eggs, while others produce larger eggs with thicker shells to make it harder for the hosts to break them or push them out of the nest. And many also remove some of the host's eggs after depositing their own so as to not alter the size of the clutch, which might otherwise alert the hosts that the nest has been tampered with. These parasitic ramphidonts may evolve to mimic their host's helpers so that they're less likely to be recognized as an intruder, and will produce grubs that are much larger than those of other ramphidonts, and that are equipped with sharp, pointed teeth from birth. Even in their incredibly altricial juvenile stage, the parasitic grubs will kill the other young around them, and as soon as they're developed enough to survive on their own, they'll abandon the burrow and begin looking for a mate. We'll call them apatochirids. Over the course of the interchange, small, adaptable clades like these will find the most success, while the more specialized forms, particularly the eastern megafauna, may struggle and begin to die out.
Hey, shoutouts to Pipamillion. I like this image for some reason. This image reminds me, it's like the one where it has that big elephant going in the desert with the with the really long legs. Who made that? I can't think of the artist's name. I think it starts with the D. It's not Dio, but it is something along those lines. But shout out to that guy who made this. This reminds me of it. I don't know if he was inspired by it.
But the original eastern biota may be spared from total extinction thanks to a lucky geological event. Just as the land bridge begins forming, a chunk of the eastern continent will break off and drift northward to become an island continent that we'll call Septentria.
Ooh.
This landmass will serve as a refugium for many clades that go extinct on the mainland, including older varieties of camptopods and other leptopods, as well as the macropredatory cryptodonts and other eastern ornithodont species. But the majority of Septentria's diversity will be comprised by the clades that inhabited the eastern rainforest, of which Septentria originally formed a part of, and once allopatry occurs between Septentria and the new supercontinent, all of the resident clades will begin to diverge from their mainland relatives. One major difficulty for plants growing in the Septentrian rainforests will be obtaining nutrients. As mentioned in Part 9, the high rainfall in rainforests leaches a large portion of the minerals out of the soil, and epiphytes growing along the trunks of larger plants don't have access to the soil at all, so many plants are forced to adopt other modes of nutrition. One option is to steal nutrients from other plants. Parasitism is very common among plants on Earth, having evolved well over a dozen times. Some parasitic plants are hemiparasites, still gaining some portion of their energy through photosynthesis. But if parasitism proves to be a more effective way of obtaining energy than sunlight, like for example in the dark understory of the rainforest, they may evolve into holoparasites, gaining all of their nutrition from parasitism and losing the ability to photosynthesize entirely.
Dang.
The key adaptation that all parasitic plants have in common are haustoria, or specialized roots that can penetrate the tissues of host plants and absorb nutrients from them.
Oh.
Many plant clades on our alien planet are likely to have parasitic representatives as well. Some of the epiphytic chromatophytes will make up for the lack of soil on the branches they grow along by evolving haustoria that penetrate the vascular tissues of their host trees and steal their nutrients. This, along with the fact that light is so limited below the canopy, means that it may no longer be worth investing energy into growing leaves, so they may end up transitioning to holoparasitism by losing their leaves entirely, for which reason we'll call them aphyllophytes. Another option for plants living in nutrient-poor environments is to take up energy from animals. Carnivory has independently evolved at least a dozen times in plants on Earth, most often in species living in rainforests or in wetlands with poor quality soil. However, definitions vary as to what qualifies a plant as being truly carnivorous. Some fall into the nebulous category of protocarnivorous plants, which have the ability to absorb nutrients from animals indirectly, such as dew sticks and Lowe's pitcher plant, which collect and feed on the droppings of animals that visit them. However, under most definitions, true carnivorous plants have adaptations for both killing prey and using their nutrients to grow. Although carnivory has evolved in so many different plant clades, most have converged on a handful of common mechanisms for catching prey. Passive traps are those that don't rely on movement, of which pitfall traps are one of the most common forms, having evolved in at least 6 different groups, in which prey, lured by nectar, fall into a deep fluid-filled chamber, while lobster pot traps are lined with backward-pointing setae that force the prey to keep moving forward until they reach a stomach-like chamber where they're digested.
Oh,
while
wow.
flypaper traps, in which prey becomes stuck within a glue-like substance along the plant's surface, have evolved at least 5 times.
Oh, wow.
While some flypaper traps are passive, they can also evolve into active traps, where the plant moves to envelop the prey to ensure that it can't escape. At least 2 species have adapted an ancestral flypaper trap into snap traps, where 2 opposing lobes rapidly press together. And bladderworts are unique in having evolved bladder traps, which, when triggered by passing prey, release an opening into a chamber containing a partial vacuum that sucks the prey inside. Unlike parasitic
What?
containing a partial vacuum that sucks the prey inside.
I've never heard of this. The bladder trap is the craziest one. Honestly, I thought the moving flypaper trap was crazy. The snap trap, I feel like I've just seen that a lot of times, so, you know. But this bladder trap is insane.
Unlike parasitic plants, though, no known species of carnivorous plant has lost the ability to photosynthesize, and all carnivorous plants still get some portion of their energy from sunlight, possibly because carnivory isn't a reliable enough source of nutrition for a plant to live on alone. The chromatophytes and zygophytes cover the surface of their gametangia with hair-like filaments, which are coated in a sticky gamete-filled fluid that gets stuck along the bodies of pollinators who visit the plant. If any small animals, like malacoforms, become trapped in this fluid and are unable to pull themselves free, their decaying bodies will act as fertilizer to help the plant grow. This may serve as a basis for species living in the poor quality soil of the septentrian rainforests to evolve passive flypaper traps, which in at least one clade of zygophyte may specialize into active traps. These traps will be derived from repurposed reproductive ramets whose male gametangia evolve into elongated tentacle-like structures, and the filaments that cover them will no longer produce any gametes but only a sticky mucilage. When small prey like malacoforms or picopterans come to feed from the nectaries hidden within the filaments, they'll trigger vibration-sensitive setae that cause the tentacles to close over the prey and begin secreting enzymes to digest it, an adaptation that will earn them the name harpactophytes.
Jeez.
As well as leaching nutrients, the high rainfall in the rainforest also feeds enormous river systems and creates large expanses of wetland, which will be home to innumerable aquatic clades. In Part 7, we explored the major radiations of the acanthopods, the aquatic sister clade of the sarcopods.
Okay.
At various points throughout the last 100 million years, the acanthopods will have launched many independent invasions of freshwater habitats, including one early radiation of hadrorachids that spreads into the coastal swamps and rainforest waterways. In the murky waters of such habitats, visibility is often limited, so many aquatic animals supplement their vision with some other sense. One clade may rely on mechanoreception, evolving their anterior feeding arms into a pair of antennae-like structures to help them feel their way along debris-strewn riverbeds.
It's like catfish.
On account of these structures, we'll call this clade the diplocerids. But mechanoreception has a very limited range, so some groups may evolve other means of sensing over longer distances. One fairly common option is electroreception, the ability to detect electrical signals such as the—
Guys, humans, what do we do here? Why did we not get this? Humans, why did we not go for this option? Think how cool it would have been to be able to sense electricity. Actually, no. We actually built too many electronic things. This would probably be super annoying now. You know what, humans? I forgive us. We didn't need to do this. It would have been cool, though. There would have been thousands of years where we didn't have a bunch of technology. This would have been cool. But now everybody got a phone in their pocket. It probably gets super annoying. But think how cool this would have been if we would have had it.
those generated by the nervous systems of other animals. Electroreception is an ancestral trait in fish, among various clades of which it's been secondarily lost and re-evolved many times. But it also occurs in some dolphins and even in monotremes like the platypus. It's important to note that, with the sole exception of echidnas, which use their fairly weak electric sense to probe for worms beneath the soil, all electroreceptive species are at least partially aquatic, which is simply due to the fact that water conducts electricity while air is an insulator. Much like infrared sensing, electroreceptive species on Earth have converged on a similar structure of fluid-filled pits, which these acanthopods may evolve from the vestigial setae along their bodies. Most electroreceptive species are only capable of passive electroreception, which simply involves detecting electrical activity from external sources. but at least 6 clades have evolved active electroreception, or electrogenesis, the ability to produce their own electric field around themselves and detect the distortions that occur as anything passes through it. This is accomplished using a special battery-like electric organ derived from modified muscles or nerves, which is usually located in the tail or along the length of the body. A handful of electrogenetic fish are even able to produce a strong enough discharge to stun nearby targets, which can be used both as a defense mechanism and as a weapon to kill prey. One clade of diplocerids may also evolve an electric organ within their tail, which will let them hunt prey within the sediment, as well as to sense incoming predators and to produce electrical discharges to deter them, an ability for which we'll call them astropophorans.
Yeah.
But beyond their electrogenesis,
Hold
we'll
on
call
now.
them
Lightning bear?
astropophorans.
Astropothoran? The lightning bears? Bro, why? They're instantly one of the coolest things ever. Like, I'm sorry. I thought it was cool when he was talking about the fact that they'd be able to, like, actually produce, like a shock to people. Like, they're like electric eels at this point. But also calling them the lightning bears, like, now they're like top 5.
But beyond their electrogenesis, these and other freshwater acanthopods may see an even more significant adaptation in their reproduction. In adapting to life on dry land, the osteopod's ancestors evolved internal fertilization, in which the male transfers his gametes into the female's body, and the fertilized embryos are only birthed once they've developed a waterproof ootheca to stop them from desiccating in the open air. However, as there's no such risk of desiccation in the water, the aquatic acanthopods have been able to retain external fertilization, whereby the males and females simply release their gametes into the water, and the young develop entirely outside the mother. Without the burden of carrying the young, reproduction will be significantly less costly for the female and allow her to mate more often, and as such, polyandry becomes a more viable option. On a related note, whichever sex experiences a greater burden during reproduction will be the one with the greater incentive to provide parental care. In internal fertilization, the burden of carrying the young all but guarantees that the female will perform most or all of the duties of parental care, whereas in species with external fertilization, there's a much lower discrepancy in reproductive cost between the sexes, so parental care is much more likely to involve the male. It's not surprising then that the vast majority of instances of male-only parental care occur in fish, amphibians, and other groups with external fertilization.
Sometimes it happens in humans. I wouldn't know. I didn't have a dad growing up.
This can lead to males evolving traits that would otherwise be associated with females. In seahorses and several related clades, the males have an abdominal brood pouch to incubate the fertilized eggs, a behavior sometimes termed male pregnancy. And in sea spiders, the male carries the bundles of eggs within a pair of specialized appendages called ovagers. Likewise, any acanthopod species that evolves polyandry may also see the evolution of parental care behaviors among males. The males will defend territories in shallow streams and secluded pools, which will occasionally be visited by wandering females. The female will abandon the male and the fertilized eggs immediately after spawning in search of more mates, and the male will tend to the eggs and protect them until they hatch and disperse.
I'm gonna tell you about your mother. I loved her, and then she left me for that guy. This is him explaining to his children how much he hates their mom for being such a dirty, moving on.
The increased rates of juvenile survival afforded by these behaviors will help them persist in the face of the many predators they share the water with, including not only other acanthopods, but also various semi-aquatic clades. While by this point, most of the older varieties of Deinognathans will have been outcompeted by the faster, more specialized Onocodonts, the semi-aquatic clades like the Dolichognathans will survive in wetlands across the planet, and those that end up in the swamps of Septentria will...
Lark's River Dragon. Lark's River Dragon. Bro, what the names just got Super Saiyan on me? Like, what happened? Why are they so much cooler names
enjoy
now?
lower
This is
levels of
insane.
competition than the mainland. Like the astropophorans, these Dolichognathans may adapt their senses for the murky water, but they may do so in a completely different way. Echolocation, or biosonar, involves emitting sound waves and detecting the echoes that bounce off any nearby objects. Like electroreception, echolocation can provide an advantage in environments where sight is limited.
True.
But unlike light, sound waves can only travel so far before they fade and become undetectable, meaning echolocation is inherently short-ranged, so echolocating species will still rely on sight as their primary sense, and no known species has completely lost its vision in favor of echolocation.
Yeah.
As mentioned,
I thought bats were blind, but apparently they're not.
In the last episode, an easy way for an animal with active respiration to produce a sound is to use the movement of air through the respiratory system. Dolphins and other echolocating cetaceans use the air flowing through their nasal passages to create a series of rapid clicks, the sound of which pass through the melon, an organ that acts like a sonic lens to focus the clicks into a unidirectional beam of sound, which in many species is aided by a complex skull shape. A similar function is believed to be served by the nose leaf in echolocating bats. In these dolichognathans, a portion of their respiratory passages will pass through a resonating chamber within the cephalothorax, which will amplify the sound and direct it forward so the animal can sense what's directly in front of it. These dolichognathans
First of all, this is actually incredible. This looks like some real life Pokemon stuff. This looks scary.
So the animal can sense.
But also, if you guys see it, just comment down below. Say, yeah, I saw it. Isabella, shout out to you, Isabella. But we all know what this kind of looks like, right? Just comment down below if you know what it looks like. You don't need to comment what it is. Just put this time and be like, I saw it. Just comment, I saw it, and hopefully I'll remember what that means. If not, then it'll be funny.
What's directly in front of it. These dolichognathans, which we'll call hypergnathans, won't be as large or fearsome as their enormous marine relatives or their terrestrial ancestors, but they'll nonetheless thrive in their isolation on Septentria, patrolling the waterways in search of acanthopods while still occasionally hauling themselves onto land to feed on whatever small prey they can find. The ecological changes that occur during interchange events are numerous and complex, but these will be some of the major developments that occur over the 30 million years or so after the formation of the land bridge and the ecological turnover that follows.
Okay.
However,
what?
All of the cumulative hardships that they have endured thus far will be negligible in comparison to what is about to happen. In the next episode, the era that has lasted over 200 million years will finally come to an end.
What?
With the advent of a mass extinction.
Oh, crap. What the hell?
Thanks to all the art.
I like how the music and the tone also got so much darker after he announced that.
On Discord, who contributed.
Yo, shout outs to everybody here. Alien
and who saved me an enormous amount of time and effort when making these videos, while simultaneously making them look a hell of a lot better in the process.
Bloody Pigeon,
links to the main server and the Alien Biospheres fan server in the description. And once again, a massive thanks to all the patrons whose continued support makes videos like this possible.
Crafty, crazy,
thanks for watching.
Crazy Crayfish,
see you in the next episode.
Demand, Dark Elf, Dark Sony, I remember you, Desarum, Dino Master, Dragging, remember you, Esther, I'm sorry, they're going, Abe, Gaps, Greenverse, Green Turtling Thing, Hallow, Herobane, Himismothel, I be the awful, Isabella, yeah, shout outs to Isabella, Jax, J Boyley, Jert 2000, Jungle 12, Juno, Billy, Kyryu, Kiwi the photographer, Kershiru, Lee the goat, Lemonberry, shout outs to them, McAdoo, shout outs to you, LLTH, Monica, Natural, Naggy, Noob, okay, One Day Holy, Opal, Auto Canal, PP Millen, Randox, Rise, Red Armor. Shout outs to Ruli Life, Sam as well, Soroxium, Sync, Stretch the Link, Starlot, Stewart. Shout out to Stewart, Vince's username, Waffle Gamer, Wave, uh, Xavier, Zerai. Yeah, I did it. I made it through the whole list. Shout outs to all the artists. I gave you guys all an individual shout out. Anybody who didn't hear me say their name, replay the video. You were mistaken. I said every single name there. I miss zero names, ladies and gentlemen. That was a great episode, and this next one is going to be actually insane. So here's the thing. This is going to obviously be edited this week. I have work and everything like that, but this should be out at least by the end of the week. If it is currently Friday or Saturday, you might be watching this video right now. So shout outs to you for watching this video. Guys, the next one, I might actually be recording the next one over the weekend, so hopefully that should be out. I'm trying to make sure, I'm going to try to do a double drop this weekend is what I'm trying to say. So hopefully, if you're watching this video right now, then possibly in the next few hours or so, then you'll see another video of the same thing. So guys, as always, if you made it this far into the video, I do have to say thank you. I learned a lot today. So shout outs to you guys for telling me that this is going to be a good one, because you guys did not lie. So shout outs to you guys. Again, thank you for watching. If you made it this far into the video, as always, I love you. Bye.